I've heard this before.
Good afternoon, good morning. This is Free Range, and we're here with Drake Bailey, and we're going to have some fun today and talk about some very interesting things. And I have some questions from the audience that Drake can have fun answering. How you doing, Drake?
I'm doing great. Sun's shining. It's warm outside. The critters love us, and all that.
Awesome. Well, we can start with some questions that I got from the audience that want your wisdom.
Okay.
The first one is, can Drake help a person under attack by entities?
Yes and no. First of all, it's the individual's responsibility for their own self-defense. But if you're under attack by entities, this depends on when as well. If it's during your sleep or the twilight zone just before you go into the sleep mode, and that happens a lot, you have more serious problems than I can help you with, or as it would seem off the top. What you need to do is simply close your eyes and imagine a very translucent, that means you can see through it, light pink covering or coating starting at the top of your head and proceeding all over you. That is your spiritual armor. And once you armor up, they can't actually smack you upside the head and give you a headache kind of thing, or stomp on your toes and give you a limp, or the usual things that these entities would like to do. Now, what you have to do is be able to tell the difference between mischievous and nasty. That's difficult, and I'm not great at it, but I can do it. The thing is, a mischievous will cause the cat to lose its friggin' mind by grabbing its tail or something and running at high speed. When it does this, it runs, grabs tail, lets go, and keeps going. The cat can kind of get a glimpse of a shadow thing going. Zzz. Poor cat. Anyway, I would say I'm probably loaded with gremlins pretty heavy at times. I do what is called a pure light burst. In other words, I bring all the power I can into myself, and then I let it out suddenly. And it's kind of like being in a very dark room and having somebody put a flash bulb in your face and setting it off.
I like that concept.
And these things run like, well, if you want to have some fun, places that got cockroaches, take a flash camera in there and flash it. Watch it and listen. Instead of the usual munch, 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 you're going to hear a cockroaches going for the hills. The same thing applies to the interdimensional shadow people that like to play games. A lot of the times, these are like teenagers that don't know no better.
What are shadow people?
It's what we can perceive of an interdimensional as it moves around in our 3D world, pretty much. I
was wondering because I had one of my sons one time was saying that he kept seeing this shadow person.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of freaked him out some.
Yeah, they can be freaky, especially if they show up in the shower with you and you're naked.
Oh my God.
You're going, wait a minute. I have no time in here, I'll tell you now. Get. But no, the usually mischievous is just playing games like a kid would do.
Mm-hmm. So interdimensional being is what it is then.
Yeah, well, they would like to be able to be truly interdimensional, but they don't quite get there because they probably don't have the knowledge or ability, one of the two, or capability at that point. And so you see a shadow go across the room, now you know what you're dealing with.
Oh, okay. I've seen like what looks like might be a cat type shadow about that big, about the cat.
It can take any form. Sometimes I get spiders about,
those spiders.
Well, yeah, but you can't tell what it is. Sometimes it's a huge snake. It might be a big old bug about this long, climbing up your leg, but you don't feel anything. Or a person will run over, stop, turn, look, and keep on running. And I say a person because it's kind of like I don't know, it's sort of like a negative. That's would be a good explanation of what they consist of in terms of their physical capabilities. Normally and mostly, they're not. Most of them don't have the ability to change dimensions. Those are the ones that are really fleeting. You sort of see something out of the corner of your eye, and you turn and look, nothing's there. The ones that you can actually watch go across the room have developed their capabilities considerably, but they still cannot transition from whatever dimension they're coming from to this one.
Ah, okay.
So you don't usually have physical interactions. Not
wow. You. Okay. Well, now I was under the impression that at least the bad entities, like the reptilians or Dracos or the underground base people, those kind of entities were removed from the planet.
For who?
Were removed.
Well, most of them were. The truly bad guys are gone.
That's what I thought. So people shouldn't be too concerned if they.
Well, there's a few holdouts and pirates and sneak up on you kinds running around loose, but they're very careful about getting caught. When they get caught, they get to go with me or somebody else to the place they don't want to be. It's called detention.
Okay.
We don't like that place.
We don't need any bad guys running around. We got enough of them in the. So, where are we as far as the fourth dimension is concerned? Are we?
We got a ways to go yet. It's not going to happen suddenly. We're going to have a bunch of. Let's see here. Roller coaster, excitable, fun and games go on first. Trump's initiating it, and so is Barr.
Oh.
Remember, Barr said he was going to look into the dinks that did that stuff to the president.
Oh yeah.
Guess what? He won't charge him with trying to form in a coup. He'll charge him with insurrection and a few other nice little treason charges that I hope they enjoy their stay in Gitmo.
Well, really, I've never seen anything like it. I've been around a number. Seen anybody attacked in the manner in which the president has been attacked beyond belief and reason.
Ain't nobody saying he's ever seen this.
I know, it's unreal. I give him credit for the fortitude that he's had in withstanding all this crap.
Yeah. Well, he unplugs from the official position regularly, and that helps him a bunch. Goes and lays on the bed in his underwear and eats. I think it's Big Macs or something that he likes particularly. I don't remember. Could be Burger King. I don't remember. Is it grease burgers and
Oh my goodness, he eats those things.
Oh yeah. Oh, those are great. Let's put it this way: you can have the best all-around nutrition in the whole world, but if you don't excite things every once in a while, or give your antibodies something to chase, they have a tendency to get a bad case of apathy. I ain't gonna chase that. That's not what you need. So eating a grease burger is something that you can stomach, okay, but something that probably isn't good for you. It's like rolling in the dirt. Ooh, germs. Good. That helps develop your immune system. Take all your foods out, roll them in the dirt. The thing to avoid, or the problem that has come up, is that mankind insists that they're going to be in charge. And the problem with that is that we have used varying types of control mechanisms in a chemical form, either to control insects or weeds. Mm-hmm. You want to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, they have them for humans too, because we're consuming it in our food. It's exactly good for us.
Glyphosate adds flavor.
Yeah, right. That stuff's nasty. It's in everything too. I mean, it's unbelievable. In fact, that's what we should be testing our food for, is the level of glyphosate in it.
Yeah.
just is. I had Dr. Senoff on last year, and we talked a lot about glyphosate and how it interferes with normal metabolic processes and substitutes the amino acid glycine.
You know what it does? You know what it does to insects?
Kills them.
No, it confuses them.
Oh, really? I didn't. I thought.
Most of them can't find their way home. A bee, little old honeybee, can go for 3 to 5 miles out and about.
Uh-huh.
And remember exactly how to get back home, unless it runs across some glyphosate. Then it forgets, and when it forgets, it can't find its way home. It dies. Real simple.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how it worked. That's interesting.
That's only part of it.
Oh, okay.
Neural receptors are the main problem, and that goes to all the stuff you were mentioning.
Yeah. Well, then there's they were going to move from glyphosate to I've heard 2,4-D, or I think it is, which is basically Agent Orange, which most people who went to Vietnam are very aware of.
I wouldn't glyphosate. That was Agent Orange.
Pardon?
What's known today is Roundup. What did we do? We took the chemicals out of there that kills you outright and put in some stuff that kills you real slow.
Yeah. We were talking about that, friend and I, about how we're moving from slow kill to moderate kill level.
Yeah.
Ramping up a little bit more to try to get more people. And then we have that vaccination incident in New York.
Well, the vaccination is a problem because vaccination, in its parameter, if you look up the definition of it in a medical book, it will stipulate that it is designed, all of them are designed to shock your system, making it think that it's got a major invasion of whatever kind of disease they're after, and your immune system goes nuts. And in many cases, the same chemical markers that are found on, as far as the virus or germ or whatever they're after goes, it's also found in infants' brains. And so your immune system causes things like autism and a few other deals, things that shouldn't happen. They're trying to say right now that vaccines are safe, and they're so full of horse hockey that it's unbelievable.
They've never done any studies to say such a thing. It's a blatant lie.
I know. And
they get away with it.
Well, the studies that are harmful are huge. I mean, there's millions of them.
Yeah.
The ones that say otherwise are just simply these people that are owned by big pharma.
Which are all our Congress people, by the way.
So.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Fun,
no, I just said that's all our Congress people are bought by the big pharma.
Well, they just found out that now they're doing a check to see whether or not any people in the medical field, whether it's a nurse, doctor, or what, have been paid to advocate medicines. That was a biggie. One little blurb, and then nobody heard anything.
Well, it's my understanding that as far as pediatricians go, for every child that's fully vaccinated by the age of 2, they get $400.
Yeah.
That's quite an incentive to
it's hard to
vaccinate.
It's hard to sue somebody when the problem goes to the extreme and the kid dies. And in some cases, adults have died from simple straight up vaccinations. They got one person that's been on life support for at least a couple of years now that I know of. Their family's rich and wealthy enough to be able to, use a combination of insurance and their private monies to keep it going. But, chemical castration of the brain is not something I would advocate for anybody.
I couldn't agree more. Same here. It's horrendous that it's continuing. And I think part of the problem is when they created that vaccine court, which is paid for by the taxpayers rather than the pharmaceutical companies, which make the vaccines, that's a problem right there.
No.
It should be.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Well, they should be accountable for the products that they
That's what they're afraid of.
good. They're shaking in their boots.
Oh, well, you think
No,
about it.
but they just bring out their little armies and whatever, and
Well, the problem is that
doctors.
it's already being addressed on an official level.
I hope so. I hope
Yes,
so.
along with a whole bunch of socialists and other people that couldn't care less about the country. They just want to be in power.
Yeah, power mongers, just like money mongers.
Yeah.
It's a disease, I think. They keep talking about, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, mass arrests.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any yet.
You're beginning to, what they're doing is they're eating it up from behind. And by that, I mean, they're taking out the combination of communications, bagmen, and intermediaries so that it can't function. In other words, you can cut a snake in half and create the same effect as if you cut the head off. Pretty simple, and it doesn't hit the news. It don't scare them up. You don't rattle the bush to see the snakes run out. That way.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the other part is none of the oligarchs believe it. None of these people in power believe it. And all of a sudden, they're slowly beginning to get arrested for this, that, and the other thing. So the variations get involved. We've got people that are convicted felons who are in public office, among other things, that should not be. If somebody has done something that's felonious, I don't think they should be able to be dog catcher, let alone, senator or congressman. So that's just my opinion.
I've found that, for example, in the state of Arizona, it seems like just about everything's a felony. So I don't get as bent out of shape if somebody tells me that, unless I know exactly what it is that they've been charged. I mean, it's one thing if it's capital or assault of some sort, but some of these other things that they give people felonies for is
like traffic tickets.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You can take a felonious traffic ticket and stick it where the sun don't shine. Doesn't apply.
Exactly. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I got another question for you from the audience, and this one involves gravity. What is the source of gravity? I don't know why.
Hold on a minute. The source of it?
That's what it says.
Oh boy. It is one of the manifest benefits of the creation itself, in that it keeps things from flying off the shelf.
I can imagine if everything just floated around.
Well, we're doing like in excess of 8,000 miles an hour. I mean, can you imagine if somebody sort of forgot to put the brake on so that you would stay where you're at? I mean, you're going, whoa, that was a rush. What you have to understand is that the source of gravity is an interaction between weak and strong forces within all of the creation. It's sort of like dark matter permeates everything. Dark energy permeates everything. So consequently, it's not what would be considered a true source, like the light from this light bulb.
Oh, okay. Well, is it a push and pull phenomenon, or
mutual admiration society is closer.
Oh, okay. So
you have, irrespective as to what the gravitational forces are, an individual or an entity or an object has the primary capability of keeping its integrity or staying as it is. Consequently, then, you have your own personal gravitational field within you, keeping you from getting splattered all over the wall or some such. Consequently, same thing's true of planets, the universe, etc. Mother Earth, Gaia, actually kind of likes people, most of them, and so she's cool with it. Now, at the point where Gaia gets PO'd and decides that that's enough of humanity and lets go of us, that's going to be a ride.
That's
But it's not happening. That's
not
just,
going to happen, is it?
no, that's science fiction.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice if we could quit doing some of the things to Gaia that we do, like fracking and bombing and
A lot of these things are going to become illegal. To go along with it, the oil industry, or whatever you want to call that, is dead and stinking. And by that, I mean that you're going to be able to, in the near future, take the engine and tranny out of your car and toss it. And you put this little device in there. It's about, let's see here, for a heavy vehicle, it'd be maybe 2.5 feet wide by 3 foot long. Might be 4. It could vary a little bit. Anyway, what it'll do is you'll still have wheels, but they'd be free spinning except for the brakes. And you don't really need the brakes anymore because you just simply reverse the field and it grabs the earth. It operates on the interaction between solid objects and gravity, both internally and externally at the same time. So you're going to have what's better known as floating cars.
really,
Yeah,
will we see that in our lifetime?
we're supposed to see it this year. There's a whole bunch of things supposed to happen this year yet.
Yeah, I wonder if it really. Well, I hope it does. I hope
Yeah, that'd be fun.
like we've been waiting forever, but
Well, I'd probably screw around with it and get it to go up above trees and whatnot, and then I would thoroughly confuse the traffic control people that can read me.
but
Now, wait a minute, that's a Chevy, and it ain't got wings, but it's flying. Hey, boss, you need to see this.
where will that be generated from anyway? Those devices that you would put into your car, you know,
You piece of junk. Come on.
some company provide that, or ET provide that, or what?
Do what now?
Who would provide that piece of equipment that you could put in your car and make it do new things that don't need gas and all that junk?
Well, there's some special hookups, and it's best to have a mechanic do it.
Oh,
And
okay.
it only takes about, I think if they assisted with like 2 or 3 installs, and had the class on the thing, they'd probably be fine. It's not rocket science technology. It's sort of like fooling around with a solar panel, let's say. Okay, in terms of the simplicity of what you're doing. And all you got to do is hook the pedals up and brakes, and make sure the steering wheel not only turns the front tires, but also adjusts the field so that if it's a little higher over here, you turn this way, or a little lower over there, turn it either way.
Ah, okay.
So there is some engineering involved, but it's all done. This is a plug and play kind of thing.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Pretty much. You could probably do it if you're mechanically inclined at all, but getting the engine and tranny out of a vehicle can be intense. I've done it.
Wow, that could be very interesting. Actually, we'll see when that comes about. Hopefully, maybe
It's a hover car. Now, remember that it's only going to hover about. It'll raise your tires about 6 inches to a foot off the ground, pretty much. And you basically drive along like you've always driven along.
Interesting. Anyway, okay. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting question. Where can you find information on how to gain ownership of a house and property if the mortgage company's paperwork is not correct? I would say something on that right off the top, as most people who have a lot of money don't own anything. Trust,
the first thing you have to do is you've got mortgage insurance if you've got a mortgage. Therefore, you have to get involved with the mortgage company and sue their guarantor for quiet title because of mistakes made in the paperwork, that upon correction of the mistakes, then we return to normal and go about our business. Now, if you want to try to find that, find somebody that is a real estate attorney. That's your best bet. They know all this stuff. And they can draw up all them complicated forms and stuff and really confuse people.
Well, this next question refers to the GCR, or the
Global currency reset, huh?
Yeah, and the question is this, because they're saying that it's Chinese elders that are going to do the gold back thing. That says, why all of a sudden do the dragon families care about humanity?
They always have. It's not a question of all of a sudden doing something. It's a question of our getting ourselves to the proper point in our sociology to be able to handle the idea that somebody might actually be a benefactor, even though we've been told for 100 years they're our enemies. And you got to get past a whole bunch of stuff. That's where you get race separation, a whole bit. All of that is involved in this. Mm-hmm. The ideology is that a house divided cannot stand. Well, that's very simple. And if you divide the races, I'm Latino, I'm black, I'm Indian, I'm this, I'm that, and each and every last one of the other one is better than the one before it, or the one standing there. And you got to forget all that and remember one thing. You all be part of the human race.
Exactly.
Each other humanely. You know, the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. You think about it in that term and expect nothing less than parity on what you believe with everybody you come across, then even the biggest, nastiest whatever that would like to flatten out spots on your head won't do so.
Yeah. Well, they divide us in so many different ways. We're divided by race, divided by sex, divided by religion, divided by politics, divided by economics.
Yeah.
It's endless divisions, and divide and conquer. They're doing a great job of it.
Exactly. So what we have to do is we have to start uniting. Now, you want to scare the crap out of everybody. You want to cause the government to go, ooh, we best pay attention or whatever. All we have to do is take all the white people and black people and put them together. For starters, bring in the Latinos, whomever. Okay, you get a big party like that going, and I guarantee you will get international attention. It will be global. This guy's a Muslim, I'm a Christian, we get along just fine. Now what you gonna do?
Exactly. Okay. That's.
So
I wish people could see that. That's our.
We have to get to the point where we can actually do that, and at the same time rub the oligarch separatists' nose in it, like you would the puppy dog when he craps on the floor.
On the floor. Yeah, maybe they would learn, huh? Maybe they would learn.
So yeah, there's an answer to it. You want to screw things up? It's tax time. Well, my goodness, when you fill out your IRS theft form, all you got to do when they say race is put human. Check other and put human. Oops.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It screws them all up. And they're not allowed legally to change the form, which means that they can't look at you and say, you look white to me. I said, I don't care what I look like to you. It doesn't matter. What matters is the manner in which I filled out that form. Now, are you overruling my own personal information? Or you really know so much about me that you can say that I am definitively this, that, or something else, according to what you think? They can't do that. Fun. Good. It's like the census. When you hear that, and it's a census taker, all you got, the only thing that they can ask you is how many people. That's it.
Oh,
they don't like it when I do that. I open the door. Yeah, I'm running the Census Bureau. We're taking the census. Okay, 2 retired adults, and close the door.
I'll remember that.
I got other questions. I said, well, that's fine. Make something up. But I tell you what, be careful. If I hear any hint that you have made stuff up on my census, on your census report of me, and it's false, made up horse hockey, not only are you going to jail, but I'm going to screw up things for a whole bunch of people. And close the door again.
That'll make them think twice at least.
Yeah, well, I had to advise one guy. I said, now look, you here, dude. And he said, I got other questions. I said, look, it don't make a damn what you got. The law stipulates simply you may count the number of people in residence, period. It don't say and or plus this, add that. It doesn't say that. It says you count the people, period. Well, you get 2 adults, retired. Got that down? Yeah. Okay. He finally, I closed the door. This time he left immediately. He didn't knock on the door no more. I mean, when you understand what your standing is, then you can exercise it. Simple. People, if we could take care of 90% of the problems right now if somebody with the guts, ain't found them yet, is willing to stand up and exercise their rights. We can put government officials, and I'm thinking congressmen and senators, in jail if they think
needs
it's
to happen.
You know,
Personally, that's what I think needs to happen, because they've gotten away with way too much for way too long. Any other person in the country that would have done some of the things that they've done, they would be in jail already.
Was that a question?
That's a double standard. No, that was a statement. Sorry, I had to put my opinion in there, so I'll take it back anyway.
It's called hypocrisy. I got armed guards. I don't need to carry my guns, but I got a whole closet full of them at the house. But I don't have guns. Hello.
Yeah, that concerns me because I don't have a gun and I don't know how to use it.
You need to get you a gun. It's fun. You can mess up a coffee can like you would not believe with a 12 gauge pump shotgun and bird shot. But boom! It just perforates the hell out of it.
Yeah, doesn't it kick you back pretty hard too?
No.
Really?
No. If you get the right kind of gun, I happened across one and bought it. If you want, you could get almost zero kickback from shooting some guns. Some of them, like the automatics, have been designed not to give you recoil problems where the gun hits you hard.
I've heard. Yeah,
I can take out and shoot it with one hand. So, simple.
Well, I guess I need some practice. Somebody needs to teach me.
Well, you just need to find the right thing to fit you. That's all.
Yeah, light enough and you can handle it. But I think I probably could be pretty good at it if I wanted to. I don't like the idea of shooting anybody, but.
Well, sometimes you might not have a choice if the dope addict's got a knife and is intended to slice and dice yourself and take whatever take whatever they want. What do? Fall down on my knees and pray, Lord, save me. No, you do like I do. You pull this out and you blow them out the door.
Okay.
I carry one 24/7 because I'm on the NSA kill list. They thought that was cute. Okay. Show me.
Okay. Okay. Next question. What is the story about the Mana World Trust and how does that fit into the picture?
The which one?
The Mana, M-A-N-N.
Mana Trust. The Mana Trust is interesting in that it does not exist.
Oh, so it's a lie. It's one of those.
Well, it's a fabrication wanting to try to join in with other trusts that are out there. They got one called Black Eagle. Trying to think, Saint Germain. I mean, they're trying to get. They would like to have people donate to their cause. Really?
So Saint Germain is not real either.
No. I said Saint Germain is very real. They're trying to join in with them, and they don't have to join in with them with.
I think it was kind of funny
the Mana Trust was based on the manna that fell from heaven in the desert, and it only had three or four individuals in the very beginning of it who kept it alive over I don't know how many hundreds of years. But anyway, it grew a little bit. No, it's not anything that's significant. Okay.
Oh, okay. So the Saint Germain Trust is, though.
Oh yeah, that's real, and it's big.
Wow. Well, Saint Germain, you know, it's funny. When I was a little kid, there was a place that we would go all the time as a child, and it was Saint Germain, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I got that name, but think of Saint Germain. So I feel like I'm buddies with Saint Germain. Anyway,
Saint Germain, it's his trust.
yeah, wow, that's something else. What about how did Neil Keenan become in charge of world finance?
He became the Amana. He had no idea he was involved at the level that they put him in, but you have to understand several things. One is that you have to be willing to do what it takes physically to acquire that type of a position. Secondly, you have to combine those two to the extent that you can have the spiritual acceptance necessary for the guardians of the bunkers not to come after you if you decide to go in one, and whomever you bring with you is fine. And you get an extremely heavy and deep appreciation and respect from the elders who actually are responsible for the bunkers, and you get to be that way. It took Neil quite a few years to get there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I've heard of him a long time ago and being involved in finance. I remember the name very well.
He's been a friend of mine since you heard of him.
Oh, wow. That's good. Thank you. Well, how did that work for people that were interested in humanitarian projects? Was there someone or some place where they were supposed to present their proposal for what they were willing to do? Or
well, the presentation of the proposal is going to be with our committee, who will be in charge of the accounts as far as being a bursar. In other words, you decide if the claim is kosher, for want of a better word, legitimate, or however you want to look at it. That has to be decided. Then they have to understand that letting a contract works very similarly to infrastructure contracts and things of that nature, where you pay a certain amount at certain portions of completion. And then it proceeds in that manner. You hire a contractor, somebody to directly manage labor or whatever it takes in that process, and you can find out pretty quickly whether or not they're trustable.
Well, let me ask you this: a project of that nature, would it be required to make a profit?
No. It's totally non-profit. They take all the money. Let me express this so everybody gets it. Over $400 quadrillion on hand. That's the assets. Basic. That doesn't include all of them, but that's pretty much basic as to the bunkers.
Oh my God.
The process is very simple. Sheets of access to the intrinsic value of whatever the bunker holds are released. These are certificates. They're not dollars or yen or anything like that. These are certificates that have to be monetized. Once they are monetized, they turn them into cash. Generally, a sheet is about 2 foot long, give or take. You've seen printed money on TV, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing, only these are certificates. Each of the certificates can be worth anywhere from $1 to $100 million in dollars. So monetize that through the financial system. And yes, there's fees and this and that involved, but nothing drastic. and then the cash comes out. And as a bursar, I would say, okay, we want to put a bridge across this so that people don't got to walk 25 miles to get to and from. And the guy says, okay. I said, I need to know I need you to study it out and find out how much. And I hand that guy $100,000. Go find out. Get your engineers out there, whatever it takes. And okay. And he comes back and reports and tells me about how much it's going to cost. Then I release the monies for that in terms of material and time and the completion ratio. Generally, it's a down payment. That way you get your steel or whatever materials you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you break it into thirds. First third, you get, hey, we got the pylons in. Okay, and then the second third would put all the structural steel up. And the fourth one, the final payment would be half of what it should be. They paved that sucker, and then you release the other half, and the contract's fulfilled. Bingo. Okay, now, first of all, we're going to put floors in houses. We're going to build honest to God houses. There are a large...
I need to put in for one. I just lost mine.
Well,
because I'm a renter,
Well,
you get thrown around a lot.
You got floors and walls and a roof. I'm not about people that ain't got nothing.
Oh, I know. Well, but I've been asked to leave these walls and floors, so.
Well, that's the first.
I won't have anything.
That's the first people that will benefit. Okay, and in some cases, it's going to seem kind of like it's out of sorts in the manner or order of doing things, but you might need a bridge across a raging Colorado River with 1,000-foot drop in order to get the the 2x4s down the road over there to where they need to go to build a house. So not everything is going to happen in the order everybody would probably think it should, but it will happen. It's coming. Debt relief is involved and a bunch of other stuff.
Huh. Okay. Well, good. There's a lot of people with housing needs. Look what's California.
Well, there's also a lot of vacant houses that they don't have any excuse for having them vacant other than they want the money.
Exactly.
Okay. A lot of these same people are the ones that are in control of the coasts, the coastal housing, getting $3,500 a month on the West Coast.
That's outrageous. Yeah.
Well, I mean, nobody, unless you got 15 families that want to live in one house. And I've seen the houses ain't big enough. So there's a problem there intrinsically, a simple problem. And that is that the corporations think they are God and can do anything they want. Well, guess what? They're about to be hammered.
For real? For real?
Yeah.
I hope so. I really do.
Big Pharma is going to be offered a Godfather deal.
Good.
I do. Put your prices reasonably, or you lock the door and go home. You want to close up? Fine, go ahead. Now,
it needs to happen.
Like Merck, we got more money than God. We can do anything we want to bet. The situation is simple. It's untenable. People have had more than enough. Okay, so what are they looking to do? There are a huge number of people that I have been involved with, talked to, etc., and they're at the breaking point. Meaning that if Big Pharma doesn't start policing itself, if your technical people don't start managing things correctly, they're going to start taking things out. If that's a server, tires on your truck, setting fire to a warehouse. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things in there. And these people are getting more and more agitated by the day. I try not to make it too bad, but in some cases it gets funky. And they're looking at using live ammunition and plenty of it.
Well, it's not stopping. It's like we can do anything we want. You can't do a darn thing about it. We'll just do what we want.
You'd be surprised how much of an attitude changes when you stick a gun barrel up somebody's nose.
I bet.
You know, it's like the Godfather deal. The guy put a gun to the guy's head, and the Godfather looked at him and says, "Is your signature or your brain's going to be on the contract? Choose." Well, these are the offers that are going to be made. Well, we can't do that. Yes, you can. Do that or put the padlocks on the door. Yeah, well, and yeah, I forgot to mention, you get 25 to life.
Well, good. That needs to happen because it just the arrogance, the pompous arrogance is beyond belief, and it needs to be put in check for a change.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of
okay.
people shot in whatever.
Yeah. Okay, I got another question for you. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Oh, this one, you already got this one. I know that. Why is Polaris always in the same location and all other stars circle it?
It don't. It moves too, but you just can't see it. The reason you can't see it is because our North Pole on our spinning Earth points at it. That means that it appears not to move. And all the other ones seem like they're rotating around it, and that is not exactly the way things operate. You see, we're on a galaxy, and the galaxy spins. Seems like it's slow, but it is moving at almost light speed in some cases. And we're out on one of them octopus arms. We're out about 3/4 of the way out on one, and so everything's moving, except that we are pointed at. And you can take one of them little high school or school globes and spin it. Mm-hmm. And point your finger right down at where it spins.
Yeah.
Now, your finger, according to you being on Earth, it wouldn't seem to move. Real simple. It's not complicated.
Okay. Next. Is there any way to neutralize nano in food before consuming it?
Yeah, there's several ways to turn nanos off. Some chemicals, some physics routines, electrically. I'd say there's probably, I'm going to say 15, 20 different ways. Off the top.
Before you eat it?
Yeah.
Okay. So
the only problem is that when you take care of nanos, if it's in your food, you also kill the good stuff that's in your food. And you know what does that? Yay, microwave. Yay. Well, it works. It shorts them out. Have you ever seen a little piece of metal gets into a microwave and goes ballistic?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine if you were a subatomic particle. In other words, you can move between the molecules in the hand. All around any old place you felt like you wanted to go. But you are a carbon-based implanted machine. Oops. Microwave's going to find you and just yummy your stuff all up. Yeah, a bunch of little sparks from it. Well, you won't have that. You won't have it to that extent. No, you don't have to stick your head in the microwave oven.
Or your food, I hope. I mean, I usually tell people not to use a microwave because of that. Puts the opposite spin on stuff, and it.
Well, are you familiar with most people are not familiar with this. This is old school TV technology. It's called a degaussing coil, and what it does is it removes statics from TV systems, primarily the big tube that you look at, the picture tube. Okay, if you make one of those, and they're not difficult to make, look it up online. Take maybe $5, $10, and you make one, and you go and just cover yourself with it one time, put it away, and don't worry about it for a while. Pass it over your food if you want to make sure that they can't operate, because what it does is it causes their battery to short out. Oops.
Oh, and what's that called again?
Degaussing coil.
Degaussing coil. I'm going to have to look that. That's not.
You know, the only way to stay safe from them is, first of all, eat only your organic foods that you grow. Secondly, you have to grow 3 crops in order to clean the soil of these things. But when you get to your garden, pass the degaussing coil over your food. I guarantee you, a degaussing coil won't kill the goodness of the food. but it definitely does a number on the nanos. However,
Wow, that's cool.
you got to remember that the nanos are not as prolific as everybody like you to think. It's called fear porn. We're all
Oh, okay. So it's not that bad.
gonna.
Well, the other thing is, I know they have for removing heavy metals, that zeolite is being pushed a lot.
Yep, zeolite does a great job. Bentonite clay, charcoal. I can't think of it.
I think you have to be careful with the bentonite clay because a lot of it is contaminated with some heavy metals like arsenic and lead.
No. That has to be ferreted out in order for them to get their certification of purity. I'm trying to think of that. Colloidal silver helps, and do these things arbitrarily and in small quantities. Let me think here. I can't think of the name of that liquid stuff everybody drinks.
Good inside? No, the spray?
Huh?
Oh, not the good inside, the zeolite.
It's vinegar.
Oh, apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, apple cider vinegar causes them to short out on a combinational mechanical biological basis. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it also gets rid of things you don't need in your system, like glyphosate. No, the yummy stuff.
Yeah.
From Monsanto.
Oh my goodness. I actually used to drink it, not apple cider vinegar straight. I would, take a big jar of, like,
Take a glass, put a little bit in the bottom of it, and fill it with
just
water.
a couple of tablespoons, fill it up with water.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd add a little stevia. But anyway, I drank that for over 2 years, and I really felt like it really helped me in a lot of ways. I really do. Now I have.
Fading out. Are you talking into the microphone?
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I guess I have to make sure I talk loud enough.
Yeah.
This thing ain't working well.
I'll tell you what you do. Get underwear one size too small. It works.
Alrighty then.
The thing that you have to be careful with is that a lot of these things can have problems. Now, what you want to look at is certification stamps for purity and consistency, etc., on all of your supplements. Then there's a few. If you want to really look something up that'll blow your mind, complaints about supplements is what I put in the search engine, and I finally ended up with a list of that showed. Let's see, I don't remember if it was Good Earth or who it was put that out, but anyway, it shows these all these different brand name supplements that people take, and there's only one, the one I really like, that don't have any complaints, and that's known as Solar Ray. Ain't that neat? Not a complaint. And
I'm familiar with. Yeah, I didn't know that they had that clean a record.
And you're looking 20, 30 years in the past.
Wow.
Since they started keeping records. So I figure if they ain't got no complaints, then I won't either.
That's pretty good. I didn't know that they were that.
Yeah, well.
I'm familiar with them. I just didn't know that they were that good.
What you want to do is get that list, get that little thing, see whether or not you can't stick it on your program or something, or your website.
Oh, I'll see. I'll look that up.
Okay.
Good. That's a good idea. Because you have to be careful with supplements. I would always tell people, as a nutritionist, look for independent party tested, third party tested, or good manufacturing practices, or organic. Whole food is always better.
I eat supplements like candy. I got 50 of them on the countertop in there.
I used to. I don't do quite as many as I used to, but I'm very careful what I use.
I spread them out and vary them a little bit. So
that's what I do too.
I had to really get nasty right at first, get myself pumped up enough to be able to, get the benefits.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I found out that I wasn't very happy about, and that is I always have been a big advocate of vitamin C because I've seen some remarkable results with it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, over the years, they, are trying to find cheaper ways of creating it and find out that that it grows on black mold.
Yeah. Yeah. You make it. Vitamin C comes from varying types of fermentation processes.
Well, black mold
Include
really have.
oranges. They're just not black. They're a nice, cherry looking orangey color.
Yeah,
You know? It's
good source of.
that's all. The I always recommend a 1 gram or 1,000 milligram, as they call it. I use solar ray time release because they don't do anything other than encapsulate it in some stuff, half of it, in some stuff that takes quite a bit longer, about 10, 12 hours to dissolve. So it's good over about a 12, 14-hour period. And if it's hot out and I'm working outside, I eat vitamin C. Oh, yeah, drink lots of filtered water. I use a big Berkefeld.
I got a Berkey too.
Hey,
I'm gonna ask you. You once told me. I love my Berkey. I also have a distiller, and you had said, well, put it through the Berkey too. And I was wondering if you could.
You don't need to.
I didn't. Okay, I didn't think so.
The reason being is that Berkefeld, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, they had some complaints that there was taste in the water. So they redesigned their filters. This has been when they first started it or something such. Anyway, there was a complaint, so they redesigned their filters. Now, their filters over the past few years, and you can look on their website and they can tell you, it won't pass anything larger than 2 microns. And they're the only thing that's small enough to pass is water.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's a great filtering system, I think. I think the place that people forget about, though, I mean, we're always thinking in terms of what we drink, but we also have to think in terms of when you take a shower, you really probably, if you're living in a city in particular, you're getting the fluoride in your pores when you're showering as water's hot. So
yeah,
it's a good idea to put a filter on there if you can.
Yeah.
But anyway, next question.
Uh-oh.
The sun is hot, ? I was under the impression that the sun is pure energy and it is not hot. Could you please explain that?
Yeah, true pure energy is not hot. There are lights, known as cold lights, all throughout the pyramid system in Egypt. You walk in the room, the light time's on. Pretty simple. Pretty nice. Pretty far out. Okay. It's not so much the sun, but the effects of the manner in which it is that creates some of the problem, and that is from radiation or radiant particles. And they're worse during the time or period that you're in, that you have sunlight, because the energy is packaged in a little thing called a photon. And whenever it makes a contact with a solid object, it releases its energy. Well, that energy just happens to be very, very high vibratory energy, and it comes out blue. And blue is the main problem in terms of sunburns, skin cancer, some skin cancers, etc. Problem with not being able to see. You haven't gone outside and without your sunglasses and been in the sunlight enough. Why? Well, most people are gravitating indoors. That's not the best way to do it. It's like not rolling a kid in the dirt. They're not going to develop an immune system, and you're not going to develop the sight that you need to have, and et cetera. One feeds on the other.
Well, so many things that they've told us to do are actually things that aren't healthy for us to do, like wear sunglasses, and your eyes actually need to see the sun. We put on, I don't do this anymore, but you're told to lather this chemical containing stuff so you don't get a sunburn. And it gives you cancer. I mean, is it the sun that gives you cancer, or is it the stuff you're putting on to keep the sun away from you?
It's the stuff you're putting on.
Exactly.
If you want to read a really interesting study, there's a study out that show that, let's see, Do Sunscreens Really Work is the title of it. Put that in your search engine, and you're going to find out that none of them work.
None of them work. And
They're sure going to give you for $25 a bottle if they can get it.
Yeah. That's with so many things. It's based on the profit that they can make, and it's not has anything to do with your health or being good for you or anything like that. That's sad.
Okay.
Okay, I got another question.
Oh boy.
This one's a touchy one, and I know we've talked about it before, and that's the question about who is Jesus Christ, as you know, and why are some people saying that he has been used to keep people as slaves? So he was involved in the enslavement process.
That's called religiosity. That's the enslavement. You got to kowtow, bend thy knees, slave. Get on your knees, boy. Pray for forgiveness. There's a lot of things that are not exactly correct in terms of what is put out, proselytized, or whatever. If somebody really wants to know and they care about the accuracy of the book that they're using, go to the texts that Stevens, the guy that did the King James Bible, pulled his information from. You're going to find a big bunch of it missing. Now, the story of King James Bible is very simple. Stevens was bumping along, translating accurately, putting everything together the way it's supposed to be. And the king got in touch with him and said, "Hey, boy, you ain't working fast enough." Stevens goes, "Really? Yeah, if you don't want me to take off your head, I would suggest you speed it up." Oh, he went to singing along. He also set up a bunch of things. Now, in 311, let's make this accurate, between 290 and 310 BC, the religious leaders got together and devised all of the religions that we're familiar with today: Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. They were decided upon, exactly decided upon. By that I mean that they actually, Islam's got to hate the Christians, the Christians got to hate the Jews, and that. So it's called division. It's called control. Okay. You got to put something in the collection plate, don't you? No. Why not? I figured you were stealing love. You don't pay taxes, do you? I mean, let's put this in perspective. I got to pay taxes, so I ain't putting that in there. The inaccuracy in the Bible is very simple. Open it up to Genesis 1:1. And there's one entity that's always first, irrespective of whatever else is going on, and that's God. You open up your book and you're going to find out that God is not the first word. Oops. Now, if you go over to the Eastern cultures, China or whatever, God is the first word. Now, who screwed it up over here for us? Same thing's true in England. Their books are screwed up just like ours is. There's a whole bunch of things missing, first of all. Secondly, they have some real serious physical problems with the timings of the writings. As an example, the Gospels. You ready for this? I hope somebody out there has got a big old mainframe that's sitting there not doing nothing right now, because the Gospels were written all at the same time, both before and after each one. Now think about that very carefully. And as far as they can tell, it was written by, here it comes, a computer. Ooh.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that one.
Hey, you just wait. Oh, he gets better.
Oh, tell me more.
Now, let's get to the question. Who is Jesus Christ? He's been a bunch of different people. Oh, no. There's only one. No. After the fun and games, and this part was made up, I hate to screw people up, but the resurrection and all that, oops. If you check the original text that come way before the text that Stevens was pulling from, you'll find that he did not get crucified. Oh my goodness. What happened?
Went
Well,
to France.
he got all this stuff got made up. Yeah, he did. He lived out his time in a
Married.
nice village.
Had
Anyway,
children. Yeah.
the the interesting part of it is that after that little interlude, the council of the creator decided to really cause some fun and games, and they switched it from an individual into an office. And there have been many, 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 many who have filled that office.
Isn't
Say, go ahead.
isn't that why they have, the similar story, born of a virgin, and all the whole Jesus story is also can be applied to other entities or people at different times, different cultures. With
It's found verbatim in one form or another in every religion. Exactly what you said. Now, what you have to understand is that it was not as such a virgin birth. You got to get this through your head. It's not easy. The birth was the gift of life. So everybody equated, well, mama just poops out babies whenever she feels it. So, therefore, it has to be a part of our routine, or we can't, or it can't be a virgin birth. Well, okay. Virgins in the Virgin Islands, as an example, and other places, regularly go to the oceans at certain specific times of the year under certain specific conditions. And if they swim in the water, they get pregnant. Oops. Seawater. Oops. Anyway, the ideologies of the individual purity, you got to be this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, but it don't happen. He's married to Jesus, the original Jesus, was married to Mary Magdalene. She was a prostitute. I can understand why he might want to hook up with her and stay that way. That, hey, oh boy, the the fun and games of it all is that even the writings, the direct translations of the words that Jesus spoke at different times, Estrangero-Aramaic is what he spoke. Well, there are two forms of that. One is the educated form, where doctors, lawyers, people that are educated would speak. Then you have the gutter language. He spoke the gutter language. He was a carpenter. He was, what is a carpenter? Carpenter.
You mean he might have said, "Oh shit"?
He don't drink out of a fancy mug. He drinks out of a carpenter's cup. I mean,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones showed that one. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I'm going to touch on the opposite side of things, supposedly. Okay. There's an entity, and everybody uses this way too loosely. There is an entity whose position, it's also an office now, but whose position is that of light bearer. Now, what you have to understand about being a light bearer is that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. This particular person was given the privilege of bringing the light. Now, I'm sorry, but Lucifer ain't evil. It's an office. It's occupied by varying people. Never has been evil. It was perpetrated by the church and a few other people to put something together that would grinch up on little kids if they didn't act right. And it's a control factor. I don't like the idea of playing games with people, whether it's mind games or what. If you don't bow down, you're screwed. Well, no, you're not screwed. God would much rather have you stand on your own 2 feet and even argue with him like one individual did. If there was even one righteous person, would you still blast that city? And God looked at him and said, I told you to leave town, didn't I? Yeah, I mean, well, you're the last, right? Okay. So you have, what you have is a problem. Yahuwah, who happens to be a punk in my opinion. The reason I say that is I grabbed him by the throat and put him in detention personally. He decided to be mouthy about things. It's nothing more than a pissed off alien. Think about their capability back then. Oh, we can shoot lightning bolts. We can make big fire come down out of the sky and just, everybody's going, ooh, uh-huh.
Was that Yahweh or Jeshua?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah, there's brothers. You got to remember.
Oh, really? Okay.
Islam, Muhammad, Allah, same stuff.
Yeah. Well, he was obsessed with virgins and promising all these.
Obviously.
Big thing of virgins anyway. I don't get it. And not to mention the patriarchal nature of every single religion. They always subjugate women.
Well, the patriarchal system did not come out with the advent of the church. That was changed over thousands of years. It used to be a matriarchal system. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so. Some of the elders in the originals tribes here in the States still have grandmothers in charge. Mm. Hey, boy, you either act right, I'm going to take that headdress away from you. You go back to being a pooper scooper or something in the park. Mm-hmm. Lucifer is not evil, and yet it's an office. It's been occupied by many individuals.
Such as?
When you get to the proper point of advancement, you can go on your own time, your own self, and talk to these individuals and find out. They'll tell you. They're not bashful. And what's neat, remember we got this transition coming up? Mm-hmm. All of these entities that I've named, they're coming back and explaining to the friggin' idiots that think they're so educated about it all, how much of a mess they made out of something that should have been kept so simple. You guys made religions out of it. What's the matter with you people? You sick?
I can't wait. That will be... People are going to have a tough time with that.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Too bad. Grow up.
I can't hardly wait, to be honest.
I can't either. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's great.
So you got more questions?
Let's see.
Aha.
Could you explain about Ra and the law of one?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, the law of one is bogus. And there's a bunch of people out there going saying, oh, no, it ain't. Really? Well, then why does the law of one stipulate that I am to give up my sovereignty to it? Whatever it is, it don't tell us what it is, but I'm supposed to surrender to it. No. I have a God-given right of free will. I get to choose. And God says it in the book. If you go look it up, and then you guys can have fun trying to track it down. But it says free will. Believe it or not, as you so choose. That sounds pretty simple to me. Number two, it goes against several of the cosmic laws that I'm familiar with. So the law of one, as far as I'm concerned, is not worth the time and trouble to read it. So
good. I haven't read it, so now I'm not going to.
There we go. Okay, so what was the other one? Ra?
Ra, yeah.
Oh boy. Ra is the sun god. Ra is the giver of life to many things. The sun god, the sun
god. Oh, okay.
The sun, yeah.
Okay.
S-U-N. Well, he's the S-O-N-S-U-N. And I'm not sure how you'd pronounce the S. Soon, sound. I'm just pick something. Anyway, Ra was championed by certain ETs who visited with the Egyptian leadership and convinced a couple of them that this really was the way it was. Ra is a very important portion of the creation. I mean, he helped as an entity, but it is the creator who is ultimately responsible for the creation and its condition. So
Now, is that Prime Creator? You're talking about Prime Creator?
no,
No, we're talking about Creator.
we have an individual creator. Then we have, and it's like the real gods, Mount Olympus types. You have gods, which are demigods. They're not really creator level gods. Creator level is way up here, and they're in the basement. In comparison, in terms of power, knowledge, understanding, capability, all that. So, just like that ideology, you have an order level in terms of universes. A universe has a prime creator. Each one does. Within it, you have subprime creators, ones in charge of the galaxies. And if you want to know, look it up. Have fun on the internet. Look it up and see how many galaxies they estimate or think there might be, and that'll give you an idea as to how many all-powerful gods there are. Well, certain gods are not as all-powerful. If there's a question that is a problem, or one that the answer is not clear, then the creator, ours specifically, will go visit Creator Prime and say, hey man, I don't get this part. You know, do I put it in gear before or after I push on the clutch? Real simple.
Okay,
Well, these are things that the prime creator would know. He would be totally familiar with. So consequently, it's easy to explain. You just got it without a problem.
Okay. Well, now, as far as the Anunnaki are concerned, they were, would you consider them demigods or just?
Oh, I'd say they're overgrown BS artists.
Oh, okay, imposter gods.
Yeah, I would say so. They hold certain powers and capabilities and abilities. They're large, and I'm talking 10, 12 foot tall, give or take. And they used to rule the planet at one time, a long time ago. Well, mankind is an interesting species in that mankind will put up with all kinds of BS of whatever nature until it gets to a certain depth. And when it gets up to a certain depth, they go, Achoo! I'm going to just, and there was an uprising. Several of the Anunnaki escaped in their ships. Several of them ran to places that we couldn't go into because we didn't have the long underwear necessary, as in the case of some of the polar escapees. The North Pole, then the people of the inner Earth found out about those idiots running to the North Pole, and they gave them a choice: leave or be eliminated. You know, they thought they were all big and bad, so they decided to have a fight, and they lost badly. Okay, the ones that went into stasis in the South Pole is an entirely different thing. They got help from the Nazi scientists a little bit, and they also in turn helped the Nazi scientists before the scientists ever got there. This gets into time shifts and things of that nature that people don't quite understand. But anyway, these gods needed a place, so the Nazis went and built it. Well, this is after the fact. Okay, so you gotta, then everybody goes right back through the time portal, back home to the 40s, 50s, whatever, and things are already there. Imagine that. So the Anunnaki have decided to occupy it before the Nazis ever get there, and so they're laid out. They've been, I think David Wilcock showed them laid out. So they're supposed to have been starting to wake up, but the only problem with that is that if they twitch or sneeze or fart too loud, that's when the explosives will start going off, and it will eliminate them.
Oh, wow.
Well, these guys are nasty.
Yeah, not nice people, huh?
No, they're like the ETs that eat people.
Ooh, we don't like them. That's good then. Hope they blow up.
Yeah, think about something chewing off your fingers while you're still
Ooh,
conscious. You can't do nothing about it. It's, a lot of fun, real nice things there. Um, you know,
evil things. Yeah, wow. So what's the story on Antarctica and the firmament melting and our waters rising and all that kind of thing?
it's not going to rise a whole lot, and the poles are going to melt slowly enough that that's not going to be a problem before we transition from 3 to 4D.
And that
Now,
is supposed to happen this year.
yeah, we're supposed to transition. And here's what's neat: everything goes.
Everything.
You start with a clean slate on the other side. In other words, the weather war machines are gone. HARP is gone.
Yay.
Whole bunch of things that the oil industry done with. Now, there is one problem, and that's called a replicator. You're going to get a small one that's uh, it's about 2 foot long, about 18 inches deep, about 18 inches deep and 18 inches high was the one that
Like a large microwave?
yeah. And it sits on the countertop. And what's interesting about it is it can make anything, except it has a problem with fermented foods. I heard it does a terrible job with sauerkraut, things of that nature. It just doesn't. Uh, so long as it's not a fermented product like beer, wine, whiskey or something of that nature, anything you think of. You need clean clothes, you take dirty ones off, toss it in there, hit recycle, and pick the color you want. And it goes poof, and there it is. If you want a meal, you pick what you want. And it produces it 4 or 5 star gourmet goodies, yummies. And it don't matter what it is.
And you don't have to cook it?
That's right. You just
Wow.
put it and it goes poof.
So I can make this beautiful dinner for somebody and you didn't even have to.
Yeah. My finger, it's been sitting in the hot kitchen. I punched 2 old buttons,
Oh.
But this, if you think about what it would solve, you get a light bulb burns out, put it in there and hit recycle, new one, bring it out and put it back in. I mean, this is going to screw up a whole lot of industries.
Oh, yeah.
And this means that what this means is that we are going to have to transition societally from what we are accustomed to in terms of the ring around the rosy we put up with to what Gene Roddenberry stipulated through Star Trek as the 25th century. Now, this is kind of a socialist deal, but what's neat is that they run you through a battery of tests, and they find out what your combination is: talents, abilities, things you've done, experiences you've had, and your best, most likable part of that. It's going to be your occupation. Now, you don't get paid, but a place to stay, a replicator to use, and room enough to enjoy your family if you have a family. Bingo. I mean, what's your favorite thing to do? I mean, I'd love to paint. Well, bingo. Think about it. Now, a person who's doing something that they like to do, and they don't have to worry about money involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious, talk about productive. Whew.
Yeah, that changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so these are some of the things that we're looking towards. Right now, we got a friggin' mess. The mess is being attended to by what's called setup, where the staging or stage gets set for certain actions to take place. It may not be the action that everybody's looking at either. It could be something totally different, but everybody knows these things, and it's happening presently. So that's why Trump comes out and makes a blurb about something. And all of a sudden he's going to give Mexico a year. Well, Mexico's got to get some things together. And then you look at things, and the Mexican peso is no longer 5 to $1. It's down in the 18s and becoming more valuable, more and more valuable. The lesser the number, the more value it has. And this should really please all of the Latinos that live in Mexico, their government. And, he said, Trump just mentioned once, I'll see what I can do to help. all of a sudden, instead of 20 to the dollar, it dropped to 19, up and down a little bit. Now it's in the 18s, and it's going up and down again. So it's going to drop to around, let's see here. It'd be almost a 1-to-1 basis eventually.
Wow.
Well, go ahead.
Do you think that we'll be moving toward a cryptocurrency or
No.
system?
No, you're not going to have. We're not going to have currencies. Forget it.
We don't need it, right?
Well, no, you wouldn't. If everything is supplied for you,
What do you,
clothes to wear, food to eat, place to enjoy it. Now you tell me what else. If you got a replicator, you tell me what else you need. Well, they even offer vacations.
wow. Travel. Can you travel wherever you want?
Yeah, sure. Why not? You'll be traveling in shuttlecraft. That was the term they used for Star Trek. It's going to be very similar to Star Trek.
That's what's amazing. That's cool.
But the things that are contained in it are not going to be exactly the same. The mothership doesn't look like what you saw in Star Trek. That was a joke between Gene Roddenberry and the ETs that told him about it. He says, I can mess that up so bad nobody will ever figure it out. And he did. Oh, he had great fun. The ideology of a transporter. We've had jump rooms since the 20s. That's where you walk. You go up to the thing, open the door, close the door, punch in a certain code, walk across a very small room to the next door, open the door, and you're there.
I want to do that.
And I don't give a damn if it's Mars, the moon, whatever.
Oh, wow.
The distance is inconsequential. But the idea of a transporter, Scotty beam me up stuff.
Mm-hmm. That really exists.
Oh, yes. Has for, I don't know, probably 1 million years, give or take. This was not, the technologies that have been outed are not the new ones. We reverse engineer, and I use that loosely. We're reverse engineering an ET craft. Well, cool. And then what happens is the technology involved in that craft is very similar to what the old hot rod used to be back in the 30s and 40s. And here you're driving a jalopy and you think you got something. And ET, they have confronted with our best has confronted ET, and ET looked at him and says, you got to be kidding. What do you mean?
You didn't get it right, guys.
The thing that you're driving, I got one in my museum at home. Are you serious? And the guy said, hell yeah, I'm going to open fire. And ET's busting out laughing and leaves. You can't see limitations, you know?
Yeah, they're great jokesters, eh?
Well, think about a Model T taking on an Abrams tank, and you get the picture. I got Thompson machine guns. Really? Haven't seen one of them in a long time. So we are about anywhere from 1 to 5 million years in arrears in comparison to the technology, in comparison to what's coming. Now, we will have to do some adaptation, but not a lot of it. In other words, if they don't beat you over the head and tell you you're a socialist now, whether you like it or not, I'm going to knuckle your head till you change it. Well, a person convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. The British tried it and worked too well. 3% of the population of the United States rose up and wiped out the British. They surrendered. We had an army once down in the Southwest that took on 12,000 troops. And the idiot in charge split his forces for one, but we had split forces too. And by the time we finally got ready, there was a nice little flat spot on the ground. And Santa Anna's army of over 8,000, I want you to bear in mind these numbers, over 8,000, got totally wiped out by a force of 1,200 in a matter of, I think they said it was 18 minutes. totally wiped out, except for Santa Ana himself. Him and three others were survivors. They took Santa Ana up and said, hey, boy, we want Texas. What are you giving me in return? Well, you get to live if you depend on how fast you can run.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, hey.
Wow.
So there, our history, we took that. Our history, they had Spanish land grants that granted the lands to owners that lived in Mexico. We took it. It's like the originals, indigenous, better known as Indians, killed over 10 million people in slaughter fashion because they were in the way of us taking their land. And they decided they wanted to fight back. They lost. It's called weapons superiority. And there were great numbers of white people. Still, they put, what was it, between 11 and 20,000 Indians on the warpath when they took out Custer. He didn't have a chance. Even if he threw his Gatling guns in a creek. It got stuck. He said, "The hell with it." If he'd brought his Gatling guns, he might have had a chance. And it wasn't a good one. It was a poor chance.
Uh-huh.
They just overwhelmed him. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you ever stick your finger in a fire anthill and watch what the results are. It just, it'll educate you real quick.
Well, he slaughtered a lot of people, or a lot of Indians. Can't blame him.
But the reparations, part of the reparations are a return of original lands, pretty much a total change of our government structure in terms of the manner in which it treats people. That's going to be the main thing that they're going to work on. They're already setting the stage for that now. And it could get basically violent and nasty. We'll see.
It's funny because
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to talk about the fact that about land ownership is a problem. The land should belong to everybody. It's like water. Who owns the water? Nestle? Why are they?
Yes, they said they did.
Take water out of the ground and then charge for it. I mean, come on. What?
Well, you can put yourself together a water system, but you just rent. So you'd be doing the landlord a big favor.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of us haven't had the resources to be able to own.
Well, have you? One question: do you have what's called an evaporation cooling system on your roof, where you got a wall that's 2 foot tall all the way around, and it fills with water whenever it rains?
This one has air conditioner. Doesn't have a swamp cooler.
Okay.
Swamp cooler is a lot cheaper.
Well, what they did was they took white stone, all right, pristine white stone, and covered the roofs. Then they built a wall out of white stone as well, on the inside at least. And the walls leaned in just a little bit, so that whenever the sunlight would hit it, it would hit the roof. And when that thing filled with water, the white would reflect all the heat. You could go up on the roof in the water and put your hand in the water, and the water would be cold. Like a mountain stream or something cold.
Wow.
Okay? It's 110 degrees. How is this water cold? Well, if it don't collect no energy, bingo. So this is something that came from the Aztec Indians of South America up north, and certain tribes, better known as the Pueblo, adopted a lot of that. And it was in steady use. And white man come along and learn from them. I mean, there's how to hunt. I mean, it's like that word vegetarian. It's a poorly translated word in Indian that means poor hunter.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's funny.
No, not really. It's a joke.
Okay. I should have known, right? Okay.
It fits. But what we got coming and what we're dealing with now, there's still a whole lot of trash problems, individuals that don't know how to act right. Some people that are too stupid not to keep their mouth shut, among other things that are going on. All of these things will be rectified. It's coming. Okay. There's been a big split in the Democratic Party between the moderates, which, you know, are comparable to having Republicans, and the next main vote that comes up, Nancy Pelosi's saying, we got to vote together. We got to vote together. Guess what? She now, and this only happened this past week, is arguing with the moderates. You got to vote with us. No, we don't. I don't represent you. I represent my constituents back in my district. Oops. So the old acerbative, nasty, get Trump by any means horse hockey is going to come to a screeching halt. Now, when that stops, then the political realm will straighten out unbelievably. Bernie Sanders will go by the wayside. I mean, you know, Schumer, he's a friggin' idiot that causes problems too. Well, anyway, all of these people that were problems, Mad Max among them, they ain't gonna be around. They're going to be removed, and by whatever force necessary. If they got to clunk somebody over the head with a rifle butt, they will. So it's their decision. You know, you want this the easy way, the hard way, or the dead way.
Well, it's come down to that because they're unwilling to change.
Well, the problem I've been seeing it and hearing about it is that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 million people, all combat veterans, who have an attitude problem about this, and they're at the breaking point. If there was one incitement that was heavy duty at all, they would start Civil War #2 in a heartbeat.
You know, I saw a picture of a soldier, you know, looked like just been through a battle or what have you, you know, and said, I mean, to tell me that you send me over here to fight these guys and I come back home and you're letting them in and I have to have them as a neighbor. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they can get more benefits than I can. So
exactly.
Go figure. Something's wrong with this picture. Real wrong.
Anyway, things are getting rectified. They put a bill, I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but it stipulates that immigrants, and I'm talking to illegal immigrants specifically, cannot use the safety net in any way, shape, or form for any reason. They're on their own. But my kid's got a problem. Well, you need to go back to Mexico and see a doctor, don't you? But you're supposed to know. I'm not supposed to. That's what the problem has been.
Yeah.
As the people that I've been around and talked to see it, the problem is not getting fixed fast enough to suit them. And hopefully everything will even out and level off. The probability is that it will. But there is also a strong possibility that any kind of fun and games initiated on a socialist basis in this country at this point can set it off. So we'll see. I mean, you know, you have to be patient with everything, and I try to tell people that, and they just don't quite understand.
Well, it's just been going on for too long and dragging on and
yeah,
you know,
it seems like it's getting worse.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. When's it gonna happen? I mean, come on.
Well,
I can't blame anybody for feeling that way. Things need to change, and they need to change soon. And hopefully that's good.
My 20 to 5.
Oh my goodness, really? We've been talking that long?
Yes, we have.
We should call it a day. And
okay.
Thank you for your answers and
you're very welcome.
A wonderful conversation. And hopefully our audience will feel the same way.
Okay.
I do have a email that people can send questions to that if they want to ask you. And it's called questions for Drake to Gail @gmail.com. put that in the link. That's quite a name for an email, but I got a couple different email addresses, and so that one stands out. So when I got to go get questions, it's right there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you sometime next week when you're available, and we'll talk about that later. And
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on.
Anytime. Glad
Bye.
to. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're signing off.